I have heard in the last 2 years the word revolution mentioned more times than I did in the preceding 20. In protest groups, at meetings, and overwhelmingly online, I have heard people talking about revolution as if it is the coming thing, a necessary thing. Occupy, Syriza, Podemos, the Arab Spring, the near breakup of the United Kingdom during the referendum. We slip into talk of revolution constantly these days. We presume a change is coming. Personally, I am thrilled with the current fashionableness of the word revolution because I like the word revolution. It is my third favourite word after cathedral, shagreen and Cumberbatch. But I should make it clear, I like the word revolution as it's defined in the second entry in the dictionary and not the first. The dictionary's first definition of the word revolution is this: rebellion, revolt, mutiny, riot, insurgency, overthrow, anarchy, regime change and disorder. And personally, I'm not up for that. The kind of people who are up for mutinies and riots and violent change tend to be young men, the kind for whom an afternoon of being kettled by 600 policemen before breaking free and wanging a brick through the window of Dunkin' Donuts feels like a life-affirming alternative to sport. I, on the other hand, am a 41-year-old woman with very inferior running abilities and 2 children. So I don't like riots. I don't like anarchy. I've read enough history books to be resoundingly unkeen on extreme politics of either the left or the right, breakdowns in society, anarchy, overthrows of seizures of power and disorder, because they tend to work out really badly for women and children. They tend to work out really badly for everyone. My general rule of thumb, and as I say this so much more true now than it was when I wrote it. My general rule of thumb is that you're always a little bit closer to the conditions that led to the outbreak of the Second World War than you think you are. I know, right? Bye-bye, NATO. Which is why I'm all for political and economic stability, non-tumultuous cultural change, and the bins continuing to be emptied on time. I like order, and I like calm, and I like not Googling how to get/hide gun cache in case of breakdown of society. That's why the revolution I like is the second dictionary definition. Revolution, sea change, metamorphosis, transformation, innovation, regrouping, and reorientation. Now, those are the kind of revolutions that I can get behind. Metamorphoses and sea changes. A revolution that sounds like the moment in The Wizard of Oz where it goes from black and white into colour, or when Cinderella's ball gown appears around her in a blaze of fairy godmother magic. We don't want an upheaval, we just want an upgrade. Even the most entrenched conservative would find it difficult to argue with the idea of a notable upgrade of the way that we currently do things politically and economically. Capitalism has been the defining political movement of my age, but it has not gone through any thoughtful, planned improvements in my lifetime. By way of contrast, I've lived through 10 OS upgrades on my Mac. And that's just something I used to buy playsuits from on Topshop and piss around on Twitter. Capitalism is surely due an upgrade or two. We need snow leopard capitalism or Yosemite capitalism. Isn't that the fundamental point of capitalism anyway, of competition and markets and choice? It's kind of weird that under market-led capitalism that we can get 300 different kinds of latte, but only one kind of market-led capitalism. So, we need an upgrade. We need a change. This is what people want. This is what the talk is all about. But what will that upgrade be? Where will this upgrade come from? Well, the answer is obvious. It is us. We are the big, obvious resource of our age. And we are the key and unique resource of our age, because in all of history up until now, most of our processing power has gone to waste. Unless someone with a brilliant mind had the good fortune to be born into circumstances of being male, not dying of a terrible disease before the age of 3, and being able to afford an education and a social situation, usually predicated on location and wealth, which enabled him to spread these ideas, all these incredible ideas that we've had through history have died in the minds of their owners. This, then, is always the ultimate argument for the urgency and necessity of equality. Equality isn't some fabulous luxury that we treat ourselves to when we're rich enough or comfortable enough or happy enough. the legislation and infrastructure that we get round to after we secure our economies or wrangle our foreign policy. Equality isn't humanity's cashmere bedstocks. It's not a present we treat ourselves to like champagne. Equality is a fundamental necessity like water. And that is because in the 21st century, humanity's greatest resource is not oil or titanium or gold or water or tech. It's brains. The real reason more unequal countries are so troubled is, to be brusque, because they are more stupid. They disregard their female populations and thereby halving their potential brain power. And so while we keep these billions of tons of brains offline, we put humanity in an illogically difficult position. By believing some people to be naturally superior, and therefore the only ones who should be in charge, we make our species as a whole inferior and weaker, and, to be frank, stupid. So it's little wonder that we have such a small, incestuous slice of the population representing us politically, because politics have become devalued. These days, if your child announced that they wanted to be a politician, most people would react as if they had come down to the breakfast table and said, "Mother, Father, I've decided to become a massive pervert." Our default belief is that politicians are venal, shifty, double-dealing liars, out to serve the interests of their friends and their business associates. It's hard for an honourable man or woman or asexual to say that they wish to run a government without instantly being suspected of slight evil. And that is, to use a scientific phrase, balls. Because there's no point in having a democracy if we distrust everyone who wants to engage with it officially. If in the very act of trying to gain power you lose the trust of the people you wish to represent. That by wanting to stand for something you are presumed to be wanting to stand only for yourself. There, the entire notion of being a public servant, a key tenet of the modern age, and democracy itself, fails.